Hello everyone, welcome to Tea Time with Dr. Straughn, and I am Dr. Straughn. I have my cup of tea and I hope that you have yours as well. Today we're going to do our tea time, and so our tea time is control. And we say control. What do you mean control? Here's the thing, we all want to have control, but the best way to be in control is to surrender. So when we surrender, we're better able to see the processes that need to take place in order to control the thing that we're working on. And so today we're really going to talk about this idea of how we sabotage, self-sabotage. And there are a couple of things that we're going to discuss in that. One of them is worth. What do you think you're worth? Right? And sometimes not knowing our worth puts us in positions where you got it, self-sabotage. And the second thing is going to be control. You've heard that word already, right? So control. How is it that trying to always be controlled creates an environment of self-sabotage? Third, how we perceive, right, ourselves. How are you seeing yourself? The way you see yourself is also going to dictate how and when you self-sabotage. Next, familiarity. Sometimes we stay in things that self-sabotage, that create situations that we really don't want to be in because we are familiar with that situation. And so I ask you today, what are you staying a part of because it's familiar? Not because it's something that's good for you, but because you just know how it feels. You recognize that thought, that feeling that comes up in that situation. Then we're going to look at being the scapegoat. I know, we've all said it, we've all bought into it. I'm just the scapegoat for the family. I'm the one that they blame everything on. And so we take on that identity, not realizing that we're creating a space where we, again, you got it, self-sabotage. And then our good old friend, boredom. My children always tell me, Mommy, I'm bored. My response to that, get a book. Read. Learn something new. Because when you're bored, you become idle, and that is the devil's playground. Thank you all for tuning in. So now we're going to take a few minutes for a commercial break. This is Tea Time with Dr. Straughn on Etta TV. All right, welcome back, and thank you all for continuing to tune in. I am Dr. Camelia Straughn. This is Tea Time, and remember, our control is our tea, right? Control. Did you get it? Did you catch it? All right, so we're going to continue our discussion about ways we self-sabotage. And one, we talked about worth, understanding our self-worth. What is it? Self-worth is how we feel about ourselves, what we deserve. So ask yourself, what do you believe that you deserve to have? Do you deserve success? Do you deserve to be happy? Do you deserve to be in the places that you are? And see, when we don't understand or believe that we are worthy, we begin to step in that space of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. That means that you, self, are creating spaces and things that pull you out of where you really want to be. So are you self-sabotaging because you don't know your worth? Next, control. You catch that control again? Remember, that's our T. Control. Control feels better, right? When we think that we're in control. When we're trying to twist and bend and turn and thinking we're making people do what we want them to do, and situations turn out the way we think we want them to turn out. But here's the thing, as I mentioned earlier, we are better able to control situations when we can lean into them and surrender. Right? Because the reality is, the only person that you can really control and the only situation you really control is self. And that's a challenge. So allow yourself to surrender to the idea of always having to be in control. Always having to know what the answer is. Because that's when you actually lose it. Okay? So next, we'll talk about the perceived self-doubt. Right? Self-doubt. Think about that. How can we self-sabotage through self-doubt? That means that you don't believe in you. Right? Whatever your dream is, whatever your goal is, it doesn't matter what everybody else is thinking. It doesn't even matter what they're doing. All of that comes into fruition. It becomes real. It becomes what you were called to do when you believe. And if you don't believe other people believing, it don't matter. It won't change anything. You have to believe. So take the time to ask yourself, are you doubting what you've been called to do? Are you doubting what your real purpose is? Are you doubting you? And when you're doubting you is when you create that space of self-sabotage. Finally, we're going to look at familiarity, right? A lot of times we stay in situations because they're familiar. I.e., if something is painful, right? We stay there because we recognize that pain. We stay there because we know what's on the other side of it, i.e. possibly a gift, or the person just not being in the space anymore. We don't want to allow ourselves to remove ourselves from something that's particularly not good for us because we don't know what's on the other side. So I challenge you, as you look at how you're self-sabotaging when it comes to familiarity, that you ask yourself, will I be okay on the other side? And believe it or not, the answer is yes, you will. Allow yourself to move into a space that you don't know, right? Allow yourself to learn how to maybe be by yourself. Maybe take care of things on your own, right? Allow yourself not to stay in situations that seem to be familiar, right? That add pain. Are you self-sabotaging through the idea of something being familiar? Next, a handy scapegoat. Now, how many times have you, because I know I have, I don't know about the rest of y'all, because this is really about standing in our truth, right? We want to stand in our truth as we move through all of this. So ask yourself, look deep in, when have you said, oh, it's me, it's always me. I'm the family scapegoat. I'm the black sheep of the family. All of that just so that you don't have to do the work. Make the corrections, right? Stand in a space of self-accountability, right? Allowing yourself to take the blame for whatever is going on, right? And where it creates this space where you are not doing what you're supposed to do because somebody said something negative, right? Or you didn't get what you thought that you should have had. The scapegoat. Not a great place to be. Because again, we began to self-sabotage because I'm the scapegoat. So I'm going to make this thing look bad, seem bad, before the people around me can do it. So are you a scapegoat? Are you allowing the people around you to be or treat you as the scapegoat? It's all up to you. You can make that change. And then boredom. Boredom, boredom, boredom. Those times when you say, you know what, my mind is dead, you want to sit and watch TV, don't want to get anything done, I'm bored. And here's the thing, as I mentioned earlier, my children would say, I'm bored. Read a book, call a friend, go to a library. Boredom will have you wreaking havoc on your life and not even know why. Just take the time to try something new. Do something different. You create the life that you want. Don't allow boredom to be part of the reason you self-sabotage. Thank you again for tuning in. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. I am Dr. Camelia Straughn, and this is Tea Time on Etta TV. Hello everyone, welcome back to Tea Time with Dr. Straughn, and I'm Dr. Straughn. And so, before we wrap this up, really want to look at our T word, which was control. We all remember that, right? Control. So, we're going to look at this concept of losing it and what to do. How do we get it back? And being able to be okay with the fact that it's not going to be an easy process. Right? Control. Remember our topic, the big overall topic was self-sabotage. So how is losing control a part of that self-sabotage? Well, losing control is really about giving up, believe it or not. Yes, you lose control. You've given up your power. You've handed it over to someone else to move and to dictate how you're going to do things. I.e., if we take abuse, right? So as we begin to learn each other, and even now in this conversation, I am a survivor of domestic violence, right? And so one would say, how or why would a person stay in that situation? Well, now in my growth and understanding, twofold. I lost control, right, of me. And he wanting control of me, also in that lost control, right? Because the physical abuse is what took place. Now, in looking at the dynamics of that little piece of the story, right? That little piece of what was once my life, losing that control, not being able to determine what was good or not good. Staying in a situation that I was familiar with, because in his need to have control of me would bring things in that I was familiar with. A new dress, flowers, and even a sweet apology, right? And not recognizing that I was actually losing control. Not being aware of how my life was spiraling down. But thankfully I can sit here today and say that I have done some things that put me in a position to where I have regained control of my life. And some of those things that you can do to regain control when you've lost it or actually really given it away, right? You can start with therapy. I know some of us don't like that word, don't like the connotation that it has of going into therapy. But therapy is really about you allowing yourself to have that conversation with someone who sits in a position of no judgment. Right? Now, some of us go through situations where medication becomes a part of the process. And I say all these things so that we can be okay with doing what we need to do to regain the control of our lives and to be able to be more productive, to be healthy, because there's so many other things that I know I want to do, right? This is not it. The chapter has not been completed, or the book has not been completed, right? And so allow yourself to really be able to sit with someone and have a conversation. And this person actually really needs to be someone, whether it's your therapist, whether it's someone you know from work maybe, or your religious places, but someone who is going to actually hold you accountable for what's happening in your life. Someone who's not going to be afraid to tell you or to call you on your BS. Right? And so getting that accountability. One of the hardest things was for someone to be able to stand and tell me and me to hear it. Okay, at this point in the abuse, you're actually choosing it. What? Choosing it? I didn't ask to be beat up. But it had become something that was familiar. I knew the sound when he walked in. I could tell the way he closed the door that a fight was going to start. See, that was familiar. Right? But I stayed anyway. Because I made myself believe that outside of this familiar situation, I could do nothing else. Right? So losing and giving up the control of my life and how I wanted it to look. And being able to have that conversation to where I was called on my own. My accountability was called to the carpet, if you will. Is this how you want your life to be? Well, the answer was no. Right? So what are you going to do now? Take responsibility for it all. No, I get it. It's not necessarily your fault. It wasn't my fault. But at all times, always and forever, it is my responsibility to make sure that my life looks the way that I want it to. Taking responsibility for my life. Being able to say, this is not what I want, and taking the steps and the actions that need to be taken in order to create something different. So as we complete this conversation on self-sabotage, with the emphasis being on control, I challenge you to take the necessary steps to create the life that you want to live. To put the things in place that need to be put in place so that you can heal from all of it. Whether, again, it is therapy, whether it is really, incorporating meditation, exercise, reading, all of these things that you can do to take control and to say no. But this is how I want my life to be. Thank you for tuning in. Tea Time with Dr. Straughn on Etta TV. And before we go, just a few reminders. Remember my book, Finding Your Bliss in the Midst of Pain, the 9 Keys to Trusting Yourself and Living an Extraordinary Life. And know that I am open for speaking engagements, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you again. Straughn, your own your life transformational coach and mentor. Peace.